where we highlight local and global events and organizations serving their communities. I am Lindsay Deming, Communications Coordinator at The Well, and today I have Lisa Gilbertson with me. She is the Director of GDK, which is that's Discovery Kids Preschool at The Well. Hi, Lisa, how are you?
Good morning, Lindsay. It's wonderful to be with you.
Good, I'm so glad that you were able to join us. Let's start quickly by, or I guess as much as you want to tell us, your history with the GDK and how you started as a teacher, how you became a teacher, and then how you moved to director.
Absolutely. There's nothing I love better than talking about this preschool, and I totally know that it's a God thing that I kind of was put in this direction. For those of you that don't know, in my past life, I was a flight attendant, but my first love has always been working with children. And so after 10 years of being a flight attendant, I know that I wanted to get back into education, and I actually applied at a different preschool and didn't get the position. But again, a God thing. There was an opening for an assistant teacher here at GDK, and I applied for that, got in, and I will be starting my 15th year here at GDK in the fall. After that first year as an assistant, GDK just was at a place where going from 3 classrooms, it needed to grow. And so we took the space that was the old offices of the church, which was at one time 3 separate little rooms, and we made it into one big room. In fact, my husband and children helped me tear down wall. So put in flooring. And so I always say I built that classroom. So that classroom has got a special place in my heart. I will be starting my 6th year as director. My passion is I just believe so much in this program. I wouldn't still be here if I didn't have that faith in what we're doing here at GDK. And 6 years ago, when the director left, it was something unexpected. She got a great opportunity. We totally understood her taking that position elsewhere within the district. And I think there was a little bit of fear that set in with what would a new director coming in, would they know and understand the direction and the passion the rest of us all had with what GDK was doing. And so I did a lot of praying about it, and had a wonderful discussion with Pastor Karen and Carol O'Neill at the time to say, this is what I'm thinking. I would like to think about taking over the position of director. Now that came with a little, but wait a minute, I was still scheduled to be lead teacher in 2 forest classrooms.
Oh, sure.
So
Okay.
Yeah. So that first year I did both. I was interim director, and then taught a morning class and an afternoon class. But I think it was really that wanting to see the continuation of the vision that I had for the school, and wanting to to work. This staff is amazing. If we didn't have such a great staff too, I don't think I would have stepped into this role. But it was just, like I said, kind of wanting the school to continue down that vision, that pathway that I saw. One of the things that I always say to people is, we're starting our 18th year as a school. If we were still doing what we did that very first year, we wouldn't be in business anymore. It was what it needed to be that first year. It was a mix of 3, 4, and 5-year-olds in one classroom. Every time, new families come our way, new teachers come our way, we step back and we look to make sure we're meeting the needs of our families, and we just continue to evolve and to meet the needs of our teachers. So we are a very different school now than what we were 18 years ago. That was all just half-day programming. Now we've incorporated longer days for students that are wanting that explore program in the afternoon. So they're here with us from 9:30 to 2:30. We've even added an after-school program because we have a lot of teachers' children that go here, and so giving them an opportunity. So it's just that continued evolution to meet the needs. And again, I'm so proud of the school and what we've done.
That's so cool. And going back to what you said, you had a really unique opportunity to be in both positions at the same time. So at that point, when you were interim director and you were also lead teacher, did that obviously you loved both, but did that really kind of solidify your decision to go into the director position? Did you go, okay, or were you, and you can be honest about it, were you kind of having second thoughts going, oh, I kind of like this, or were you just in survival mode and doing both at the same time and trying to get through.
Yeah, it was definitely learning on the job. And it was just kind of trying to figure out where could I be. The reality of it is, I think one of the most important parts of being the director is being where you need to be. It's being there to support your staff and being so they can be the best that they can be for their students. So the reality of it is, over these past 5 years, I've never had a year of being just the director. And maybe that's a good thing. I look at that as a blessing. It's really kind of kept me in the moment of the needs of our children and our staff. This past year I did distant learning every day for a class before school opened. I did videos 3 times a week. I've stepped in to be an assistant. I was in a classroom this year that because of a challenge, I knew that we needed another teacher in that room. So that's where I was most mornings. So it's always, like I said, so I go into this year and I go, well, right now, I think I'm going to be just the director, but that's what makes a good director, is knowing where you have to be. And I like doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you bring up a good point about the distance learning too. So let's talk about this last year and a half. I mean, it's obviously everybody's gone through challenges. Schools especially have been so challenged and kind of forced to get creative with things. So I know you guys had to do some pivoting. Why don't you talk a little bit about kind of the beginning of the pandemic and how that shaped the end of last year and then into this current school year that just ended?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all going to go, where were you when the world closed down? It was Thursday, March 12th. And we were just excited because there was only one more week and then it was going to be spring break. So we all kind of had that mindset. But there was a buzz going on in the teachers' workroom at lunchtime because their kids were hearing about, Susie was told to bring her instruments home this weekend because school might not be open next week. I think we were all aware, especially like on the West Coast and the East Coast, hearing about the pandemic. But I think there definitely was a level of being naive, a sense of denial that it was ever going to affect us. And so when the world shut down and, I got together with my staff on Sunday, March 15th saying, the district has closed school. And at that time, we always followed exactly what the district did.
Sure.
What are we going to do? There was this thing called distant learning, and how are we going to do that?
What does that look at the time?
Yeah, terrifying. Exactly.
Like, I don't think this works.
Especially at this age level. I think that's one of the things that was such a huge challenge. My youngest was a junior in college. She was able to come home and do her, she had her books, and it was just a little bit different. But how was I going to, through my screen, give the kids little cups and sticks and ask them to build a bridge, and how high can we do it? And let's measure that. What were these hands-on learning experiences that we are so known for here at GDK? How am I putting that through the screen? Yeah. And, incredibly proud of my staff, because there wasn't a book that told you exactly how to do this. And we put together learning packets. We sent home dirt and seeds, and we did art projects online, and we read stories online, and we did music and dancing online, and just did the best that we could. I'll be honest with you. I literally said to myself, oh, we'll be back before the end of the school year. We'll be able to finish.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, it's funny to look back even on, I think, memories through social media of those early weeks, going, we were all so naive. We thought this was just going to fly through and we'd be fine. And I remember thinking the same thing, just like, oh, this will be done soon. We'll get back. And especially with the kids, the preschool age kids, those fine motor skills and all of that. Oh, we'll be able to get back in person, hands-on. Yeah.
We'll be back. So as it got to be longer and longer, and I remember we had made it through the whole month of April, then I was like, yeah, we're going to have to still continue this through May. We did the drive-by with parade where the parents and families came by so we could say goodbye to our kids. It was so surreal, so surreal. And then again, though, that sense of denial continued. And I thought, oh, by fall, we'll be back in. It'll be okay. And then, the reality of it was, no, it's not going to be. But what can we do to make it as normal as possible for these kids? I took the last summer to really kind of look and see, I'm part of a group of directors of preschools and childcare south of the river. What were you guys doing? Some of them never closed down because they were childcare. What are you doing? What are you seeing? Followed a lot of Facebook groups, preschool classes around the world. So even seeing what people were doing in other parts of the world. And there was still, though, so many unknowns. I think that we all know that when this first happened, we were wiping down groceries. We were terrified of anything coming into our house. So how was I doing that here? So really taking that time. And so I do look at the summer for us as being a blessing to step back. I always have believed knowledge is power, to gain that information, to work closely with the Department of Health and Services here in the state, because we are a licensed facility. Oh my gosh, the amazing COVID task force here at the Well.
Yeah.
Such a go-to for me with asking questions and sharing ideas with. But taking all of that and going, okay, what can we do? And sharing that with my staff. And the summer was still going along, everything was going great. And then the district announced that it was going to be all, distant. And, there were so many changes happening with that. I lost, between the end of May and probably the beginning of August, I lost 35 children.
Wow.
That were registered to come our way. Now, we had an extensive sign up list, so I was able to fill almost all of those back up again.
Sure.
From my wait list. But I had to start to look at everything. And even though I said that we evolve as a school, we're also very much creatures of habit. And there are certain ways that we always have done some things. And I had to look at those and go, okay, this isn't going to work. I knew my crowded hallways every morning could not exist this past fall.
Yeah.
How am I going to not let families into the school building and still make it inviting, and for these littles to be excited to come into a building that they've never been in before?
Yeah. Because tours were kind of not, I remember that with my son as he went into kindergarten, it was like tours were non-existent.
No.
So you were kind of walking in blind, going, I really hope this is beneficial for him and exciting. And you didn't know what the classrooms, did you guys have any restrictions on what you could, I mean, I guess you could probably dictate that, but on what you could include in classrooms? Because I know with a lot of the schools around the district, they had to clean out their classrooms and they weren't really allowed to bring much into
one of the biggest things the Department of Health and Services did with us, I mean, they had some guidelines set up. They really truly encouraged very small class size of, one teacher to 10 children. I was really stuck because I had full classrooms. I went from a class, our biggest one is 20 students with 2 teachers, 18 students, 16 students, 13 students. I was already outside of that size 10 bubble. You did not have to stick with that. These were guidelines that were set. Remember too, when I talked about like we all were panicked about cleaning. So, I mean, at the beginning of the year, cleaning was still a huge thing. So we did start out the year with no soft things, no stuffed animals can be in classrooms. Take out your soft covered chairs. Parents aren't going to be allowed to bring snacks in. We're going to provide it this year. So all of those things we had to, now granted, we learned a lot as the year went on, but I think we had to start out that way. One of the things that we worked around, my teachers did an amazing job. Normally we would have meet and greets every year. At the beginning of the year, the week before, parents would come in with their kids, kind of like an open house, and the kids could play in the room, meet a few students. We couldn't do that. So my teachers put together video tours of the classroom, and they showed the kids what their faces would look like, not behind a mask.
Yeah.
So they weren't afraid of that, but that they started to prepare them that your teachers are all going to have a mask on when you come to school. We did our meet and greets individually outside. Can I just say, God gave me an amazing year with like seriously, we had like no rain at drop off or pick off the whole
Gosh.
first part of the year. Thank you.
Yeah.
The well, and I will never be able to put into words, and again, to show my appreciation, the well has been amazing to GDK. We are part of such a phenomenal community here. With the building being shut down, I was able to use every outside door that this building has.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yep, and separate every classroom. So even door 7, which is on faces Canada Avenue, which is never used for anything, became a door for the 3s to come in. So we kept, even though my class sizes were a little bit bigger, every class stayed within its own family. We called them families.
Yeah.
They all came in their own door. My teachers, we never even had 2 classes in the hallway at the same time. We were always, peeking outside the door.
Sure.
And then, okay, it's safe for us to go.
Yeah, and you were able to get an air filtration system in that side of the building too.
Can I just tell you, this has been the healthiest year we have ever had at GDK. I know the power of that HVAC system.
Yeah.
And I'm talking my kids, so the students, my teachers. Normally I'm sending out at least once every 2 weeks some sort of contagious disease that's in
Right.
whether it's strep, pink eye, we didn't have that at all.
Yeah.
My families though were also amazing, which helped also because they followed. We had a guideline. Your child is experiencing any of these symptoms, do not send them to school.
Yeah.
One of the very first things our kids did when they came in the building was they washed hands.
Yeah.
We were a little crazy at the beginning with cleaning, and I was running around with squirt bottles every time a different class would go into a bathroom or use the gym. And then we really, as the year went on, really realized this is airborne. And so we were able to kind of bring the soft chairs back into the classrooms, and some things we learned as the year went on.
Well, and it was a night you kind of tiptoed back into like some semblance of normalcy with it. So
absolutely, because I'll tell you, when I was following some groups across the country and across the world, there were extreme things that people were doing. I mean, some schools were blocking off in tape, this is your child's 6-foot play square.
Yeah.
And we knew, if that's what school was going to open up to, it wasn't worth opening up. Right. Part of what children learn at this age and is so valued and so important is that social interaction. And we needed the kids to do that. They had to do that. Our children did not have to wear masks, but if they chose to, they could. My amazing teachers did. We all had to wear masks. And that was probably one of the most difficult things because a teacher is always talking most of the time. And so continuous talking with a mask on can be kind of draining. So we became like the people working at the fair, because I had voice amplifiers that some of the teachers use. So
that's so helpful. We ended up getting those in the elementary school too, I think later on, but that's really, really helpful. I think it just, because you don't see the social cues as much with the face, and you don't see the lips moving, and all of that really combines to give the kids a great perspective on what they are supposed to be listening to and learning. So it's awesome to hear that you had those amplifiers too.
Absolutely. And so it like, again, it was a team effort this year. It was the staff, it was the teachers, little things. We couldn't go to Camfield Park with our kids because another childcare center uses that park. And again, keeping our group within those families, we couldn't have them interacting with other children, not knowing if they had been exposed to the virus.
Right.
So again, the lovely space around the building, we took gym stuff outside when it was nice and created an outdoor space for the kids to use. So,
and we really are fortunate to we have tons of great yardage around the church. We do have a lot of space and a lot of green area to really bring that learning environment outside, which is
so
fantastic.
Important.
Yeah. So how do you think the year ended up?
You know what? Every year, our families are so thankful with what we do here at GDK. Their words touch our hearts every year, but this year more so than ever. Our families could not have been more appreciative of us being open, and what a difference I know that our kids getting to have this experience of in-person learning has set them up. Those that when are going off to kindergarten, they're so ready. They're
Yeah.
so ready. And those that are coming from our threes into our fours, um, they're ready. They've got to experience this. And so it also, not only it was huge. We'll never be able to measure the benefit that there was for these children, especially in this year, where the world was closed around them. But it also allowed so many of our families who were having to now work from home, that they had their kids, they knew were in a place where they were having fun, they were learning, they were safe, and they were loved.
Yeah.
But they were also trying to balance working with older siblings at home and doing school at home with them. So we know that there were benefits all around with being open this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now let me ask you a personal question.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this before, and I know it can strike some emotions. So tell me, for you personally, what is so fulfilling about you being here at GDK, and about what these last 50, you said 15 years, you're coming into your 15th?
Coming into my 15th year here
Okay.
at GDK.
So
Yeah.
so tell me what it's meant to you, and what is really just so special about this place for you.
Yep, you got me already.
Yep.
I don't think there is. One of the things that's very easy to happen to you as you get older is you forget about the little joys in life. And one of the things that I tell my students every day is not only do they learn something from me every day, but I learn something from them every day. It is the most beautiful gift working with children, to see the joy every day through their eyes. And I think I love having the opportunity to leave an impression on them that learning is fun. Learning is so much fun, and it's something they will do their entire lives. But yeah, it's truly the joy. I did a video tour this year of the school, and it's just so I could send something to parents that wanted to see what our facility looked like. But I always say these hallways and these classrooms aren't alive unless it's filled with the laughter and joy of children. Getting to let them know every day how much they are loved by me, but by God, that Jesus is their friend. And, I just love that this school has a staff that we're all in the same wavelength. And that's making a difference in the lives of our students. Boy, what a gift that is, to make a difference in somebody's life, even if it's the smallest thing. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any greater gift than working with children. It's the best.
Now you got me going.
I know, it's the best.
Yeah, it's I see how much week to week when you and I talk, I see just how much your heart is in this, and to be able to provide, especially during a year where so many people, through no fault of their own or through very, intense decision making, really didn't have the opportunity to be in person with other kids, to be in person with other families. You really gave so many families and so many kids, I think, a benefit that the majority of people weren't able to see or were able to experience. And so I know you know this, but just a personal note from myself, I hope you are aware of how important it was, and the lasting impact you're going to have in GDK, and your amazing staff is going to have on these kids who were able to kind of go through this really challenging year with at least a little more normalcy than they would have seen otherwise. So you guys are amazing, and I'm disappointed that I found you guys too late. My kids are already past the preschool stage. I know, but I'm so excited to see what this next year holds. I'm hoping that most of it is fairly normal, whatever this new normal is, I suppose, but that it's that those hallways again are filled with laughter and joy, and I love it so much. Lisa, thank you so much for being with us today and for telling the story. We're going to put links to all the GDK information in here if anybody is interested in reaching out and finding more. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Bye, Lisa.
Bye-bye.